Yeah, heading away from the mountain for a moment, there is a big weekend ahead in boxing, with two Australians involved in world title bouts. Vic Raging Bull Darchinyan and Paul Briggs are on separate cards in separate cities. Boxing expert and editor of secondsout.com, Paul Upham, joins us now. And Paul, it is a weekend of firsts. It's unprecedented.
A historic weekend for Australian boxing to have two guys fighting for world titles. We have Vic Darchinyan, who's the current IBF and IBO Flyweight world champion. And since Costa Zoo lost to Ricky Hatton, Vic over the last 2 years has been our best boxer, no doubt about it. And now we've got Paul Briggs in a rematch trying to win the WBC light heavyweight title.
I was going to ask you that exact question. Is Vic Darchinyan our number one boxer now?
Not only is he our number one boxer, he's probably just pushing the limits of pound for pound, one of the best boxers in the world. He's unknown to a lot of Australian sporting fans. Anthony Mundine has been the biggest name boxer in Australian boxing, and that's been great for boxing in this country. But we need people like Vic Darchinyan to carry the torch of Australian boxing on the world scene. And over the next 2 years, I have no doubt that Vic Darchinyan is going to be seen as one of the most exciting boxers in the world today.
He's really entertaining, isn't he? And the US audiences like him. He's on Showtime, and he likes to talk it up. He's predicting a knockout. 12 rounds is a long time, 36 minutes. You're not going to stay in there with me.
It's unusual because Vic Darchinyan, being a flyweight, is getting exposure on the American market, which is unprecedented in itself. He has a tremendous knockout punch. He's got that little bit of arrogance you need. He talks the talk. This weekend he's fighting Glen Donaire. He's promised he's going to knock him out this weekend. He's coming off 2 fantastic knockout wins this year on Showtime so far.
You saw what he did to the last bloke, smashed him.
For a flyweight, he has got a punch that could carry him up divisions. He can knock guys out, 25 pounds heavier than him.
Why did he split with Jeff Fenech, and why is Jeff Fenech losing all these big stars? I don't get it. Danny Green, now Vic Darchinyan. Why do they leave him?
It's coming about time, and Jeff's spending time with Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's on a world tour now, a farewell tour. Over the next 12 months, he's going to fight about 10 or 12 4-round exhibitions, and Mike's being trained by Jeff Fenech. And it's just a time factor that Mike needs Jeff there, Vic needs a full-time trainer. And same with Danny Green. Danny Green wanted Jeff Fenech as a full-time trainer, and to be at the top of boxing elite, you've got to give that 24-hour, 7-day-a-week commitment, and Jeff can't do that when he's with Mike.
Let's go to Paul Briggs versus Tomasz Adamek. Now, the last time these two got in the ring together, it was an absolute thriller, wasn't it? It was a classic, and it's the reason why they get another go, isn't it? Is because they absolutely belted each other for 12 rounds.
If you put on a great fight like they did last May on American television, the television networks want you back. They want entertaining fights. They want really, really good excitement. And we saw there that Paul Briggs and Adamek just went to war for 12 rounds. And it was shortlisted as fight of the year, not just in their division, but of all the fights in America. And they put on such a great show. And Don King, being Paul Briggs' promoter, said, hey, let's do it again. So Paul's had to wait a little while. But the great thing is he's got Johnny Lewis, our trainer of world champions. He's looking for his 6th world champion now in Paul Briggs. And if Paul Briggs is going to win this weekend, Johnny Lewis is going to give him that little bit extra, I believe.
He's up for the WBC light heavyweight title, Briggsy, and he was a street fighter growing up, but in that fight against Adamek, he sort of went boxing again, didn't he? Didn't throw the big punches.
Well, Paul Briggs was a world champion of kickboxing, turned to boxing. He was being trained by Jack Mosley, and Jack Mosley tried to turn him into a boxer, a cautious, more skills boxer, where he's an out-and-out puncher. That's what's made him so exciting.
He looks like an absolute gladiator in the ring there. He's got blood all over him. They've done all right, and as you say, that's the reason why they're back. But he is changing his style, isn't he?
He loves that combat. Paul Briggs loves that combat, and Johnny Lewis works on the fighter's assets, and his best asset is his power and his aggression.
Have a look at Adamek's nose after it. He reckons he broke it in training before that fight, got it broken probably in a million places there by Paul Briggs, and reckons he was swallowing blood all the way through that fight. Will it be a different Paul Briggs that gets into the ring this time? Will what Johnny Lewis has been able to do to him pay off, or will it cost him?
I think it'll be a better Paul Briggs. A couple of times he had Adamek hurt in the first fight. He didn't follow up. He didn't jump on Adamek like the old Paul Briggs would. And I think Johnny Lewis will push him on. He's such a great motivator, great tactician. He's got all that experience, and I think he'll make the difference.
Adamek's got a new man in his corner too, hasn't he?
Yeah, Buddy McGirt, the great trainer with Arturo Gatti and Antonio Tava. So both men I expect will come in as better fighters, better boxers, but I think ultimately it'll make it for a great fight.
What I really like about Briggs' preparation, he's changed his nickname for this fight.
He's gone from the Hurricane to the Firepower, which is interesting. But that's one thing about Paul Briggs. He's never been afraid to change things, to make himself better, to become world champion.
What's more devastating, a hurricane or firepower? I mean, we've had Katrina in Florida, levelled the joint. You'd think that'd be far more powerful than firepower.
Well, I like Hurricane, but if Firepower gets him over the edge this weekend, because we really need him to win.
That was the first time anyone had ever made him bleed before as well, wasn't it? Which sort of seemed to stun him.
In the second round, you could see that he was put off a little bit by it. I think he really thought it was worse than it actually was, and he went on in the later rounds and he became the Paul Briggs of old. But I think he learned so much from that first world title fight.
All right, I'm interested to know what's happening with Anthony Mundine, the man. He looked so good against Danny Green and won a lot of new fans after that fight. What's he up to now?
Well, he's coming back November 15 in Newcastle, having a tune-up fight against the Argentinian super middleweight champion Ruben Acosta, and it's a good opportunity for Anthony to stay busy. We've got next weekend, we've got Mikel Kessler versus Marcus Bayer, WBC, WBA super middleweight unification.
Is he going to get a shot at that?
Well, he will. He's a mandatory for the WBA title, so the winner will have to fight him. But it's, once again, in boxing, it's all politics, it's all business. It'll depend on who wins the title, which they give the title up. Anthony Mundine could fight for a vacant title, he could fight the champion. One thing for sure is 2007, Anthony Mundine's going to get that world title shot.
What do you reckon? How many world titles are we going to have after this weekend?
Well, we've got Vic Darchinyan, Paul Briggs, we've got Gary Superman Sinclair, super lightweight, super featherweight world champion. You know, Anthony Mundine, he showed so much against Danny Green. You have to truly believe he's a great shot. Danny Green wants to come back. We've got so many guys on the verge of world title fights. Michael Katsidis could have a world title shot in his next fight. So next year we could have, honestly, 4 or 5 world champions. And the big question mark, Costa Tszyu, will he come back for one more fight?
That's what I wanted to know. What's going to happen with Costa?
Well, he hasn't made a decision. He hasn't said he's retired. He hasn't said he's going to fight again. He had an operation on his shoulder. The plan being to become 100% fit for the start of the year, and then he'll sit down and make a decision. Why does he want to fight again? He doesn't need the money. He's got plenty of business opportunities. Has he got that internal desire to come back and have one more fight for a win?
Great chatting to you, Paul. Who's going to win, Vic Darchinyan, Paul Briggs?
Vic Darchinyan will be by knockout and Paul Briggs on points.
And there's also a massive heavyweight bout we want to look out for, isn't there?
Nikolai Valuev, the 7-foot Russian, the WBA heavyweight champion. He's a man-mountain, unbelievable, and you'll better see it on Fox Sports Pub and Club and Main Event.
Oh, it should be great. Ivan Drago, you think?
A bit bigger than Ivan Drago.
Ivan Drago.
All right, thanks for joining us, Paul.
My pleasure.
Great chat.
Good on you, mate. Thank you.
This is a Fox Sports News and View. Still to come, Australian cricket captain Ricky Ponting and Glenn Seaton on his dream of winning Bathurst.
Yeah, I said to him this week, I just needled him and said that there's one above him now, but he keeps saying to me, you haven't won one yet, but I have.